The planning and zoning meeting is called to order. It is, let's see here. This meeting is being held in person as well as on Zoom. Do I need to read out all the things? Okay. To call in, you call 719-359-4580.
And then the passcode, right? Do you need that? Or is that?
You can also mention the website that has
Okay.
instructions.
Thank you. Let's see here. Do I need to read the entire? Okay. And you can go to the City of Glenwood Springs website to join as well on Zoom. We'll do the roll call.
Good afternoon, everybody. Roll call, Commissioner Hunton. Commissioner White,
Here.
Commissioner Sipperly,
There.
Commissioner Sims,
I don't know. There's nothing on the screen.
Commissioner Connerton,
Here. Oh, I have to touch the 4, the number.
Can you try Carolyn's mic?
The name or the?
The name or?
It's easy. Yeah, she was delicate, that's the problem.
One moment, please.
So many movies tonight.
Movies?
Movies.
Oh.
Yet, we have to update it. But it should be fine if you wanna.
Keep going. Did everybody get called for roll call?
I don't think so.
This is busy. Right.
okay, Commissioner Sipperly,
Here.
Commissioner Sims.
Here.
It's not working. Commissioner Connerton,
Still here.
all right, we have a quorum to begin.
All right, do we have any conflicts of interest tonight? Seeing none, we'll move to, oh. Thank you.
Madam Temporary Chair, I think we, before accepting the minutes, should proceed to the election of officers. So have a motion to amend the agenda to put the election of officers before the receipt of minutes. Somebody would like to make that motion?
So moved.
And a second? Anyone?
I'll second that motion to move that item to the beginning of our agenda for the election
Do we
of
need to vote?
officers.
Verbal.
Okay, a verbal vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? So moved. Okay, so do we have any nominations for our chair position?
Yeah, so I'll lead you guys off on this one. I included a staff report of the chair and vice chair duties. This is something that this board elects annually. So any nominations and for these positions will last for a full year. Pete Waller, who is not present tonight, did say that he is open. He is currently the vice chair. So that's a nomination for your consideration as well as anyone that's up there tonight and anyone who would like to throw their name into the hat. So I did break this into 2 action items for each of the 2 positions. So if we want to take a nomination or a volunteer for chair first and then move to vice chair, you guys can make a motion for either of those positions. And Joy, if it's easier with the mics, you can just leave them on. You guys are very well behaved, so that would be fine.
Okay, so do we have any? What's that? Oh. Do I highlight everyone and hit mic on?
Yeah, you can just one at a time press
Okay.
and mic on
Okay,
and go through the list. You can leave them there.
okay. Good grief. I'll get better. Okay,
Excellent.
there we go.
I move to nominate Vice Chair Pete Waller for the position of chairperson.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, shall we vote? Or are there any other nominations? Seeing none? All in favor?
Can we do a roll call vote?
Oh, roll call vote. Okay.
Okay. Commissioner Houghton,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Sipperly,
Yes.
Commissioner Sims,
Yes.
Commissioner Connerton.
Yes.
Alrighty. The motion passed unanimously.
Okay, so we'll move on to the vice chair nominations.
I nominate the alternate.
Yeah,
Don't do that. I don't know if I've been here around long enough. I'd do it for a year.
I'll nominate Joy.
That's fine.
I'll second that nomination.
There you go.
All right. We'll do a roll call vote
call.
again.
You're
not gonna
deny it, right? You're okay with
We're all like,
I'm okay with that. I
second
already
guessing,
emailed her that if no one else wanted to do it, I would do it. See if I can figure out these mics.
Motion to vote, Commissioner White into vice chair. Commissioner Houghton,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Sipperly,
Yes.
Commissioner Sims,
Yes.
and Commissioner Connerton.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, George. We're halfway there.
Okay. So now do we go to the receipt of the minutes, I presume? Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from the January 23rd, 2004 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting minutes?
I move to approve.
I'll second that motion.
And we could do a voice vote on this. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? I actually have to abstain because I wasn't there.
And we're very well done this time.
No edits from
Oh.
Sipperly.
Was like one letter missing.
Okay, any comments from citizens appearing for items not on the agenda tonight? Anyone on Zoom? Seeing none, we will move forward with our new items. Planning file 0224, Glenwood Hot Springs signage variance 401 North River Avenue.
This is M. Railingston Community Development presenting on planning file 0224 Glenwood Hot Springs signage variance, and I will be sharing my screen. Okay, so tonight we have a number of sign variances for Glenwood Hot Springs located at 401 North River Avenue. So again, it's a number of variances for attached and freestanding signage. Art House Design has applied on behalf of the Hot Springs Lodge and Pool Incorporated. The property is zoned CO commercial. Existing use is the resort use. Surrounding land uses, to the north, you have commercial lodging and some residential. South is the interstate and Colorado River. To the east, City Arts Center, and then Yampa Spa and Vapor Caves. And to the west, you have surface parking and then mixed use as you go towards 6th Street. It's a very large site at 8.7 acres. And so this right here, this is a summary of all, so a couple things. You have these sign names, and I used and continue to use all the names that the applicant has. So for consistency, the sign types, and then status, whether they're replacement of an existing sign that's already there on site or something new. And then on the far right is just the number of variances for each type. And I'm going to get into all these specific ones. And so just to start, and just as we're going through these to keep in mind, so this is a variance and there are 7 criteria. And for approval, the variance would have to meet all 7. And then I also included the definition of hardship. And that word comes up in a lot of these criteria. And so just a condition by which the property in question cannot be put to reasonable use under existing regulations. So that again is the code definition of hardship, and that's part of what you'll be deciding as a commission for each of the items. So just to start off, action item 1, and the way I group these is so there's going to be 6 action items tonight. And some of these are going to they're going to have multiple signs for that action item. And so I'll go through that. So this first one is just for one individual sign. It's for a variance for an existing pole sign, and the variance is for the interior illumination. And staff recommends approval of this particular sign. And so this is the existing pole sign that exists on the west end of the property. And so this sign was originally installed in 2015 with variances for the design, and that it's a double pole, and then also for its height. And so the applicant is proposing you can see where the changes are and just the actual sign piece. The poles will remain there, same height. So really the only change here is the sign itself. The existing sign is internally illuminated, but because that wasn't covered by the 2015 variance, that's what Planning and Zoning Commission will be considering tonight. And so when you see the sign, so the letters are halo lit, which are not considered internally illuminated. What's actually the subject of the variance is this lighting feature at the bottom, where you have a light inside the sign, shining light down, and then you can see there's this kind of blue glass. And so that'll be where the internal illumination is. And the reason why that's a variance is because this property is located in the downtown core. So the downtown core is everything in green. And so any sign in that area, in order to be internally illuminated, would need a variance because that's not allowed unless it's neon. And then we just have a couple other things on this map. So again, green is downtown core, white is the property boundary, and then red is the downtown north sign district, which will come into play in a different action item for the variance, but just for reference. So again, so for the variance criteria for this one, staff found approval. I'll just go through these real quickly. Subject property is one of the largest in the CO zoning district, and it's also one of the largest in the downtown core. So in that sense, it does have an exceptional shape or site condition. Strict application would produce an undue hardship. So the existing sign is already internally illuminated. So this really isn't going to result in any change other than just the physical sign. As far as style, height, and illumination, that's all going to stay the same. Applicant did not create the hardship by their own actions. So again, the sign exists as legal non-conforming. Applicant is really just changing out what's existing. And again, the size of the actual sign isn't gonna change either. Variance requested does not harm the public and does not impair intent or purposes of the code. So it doesn't harm the public. And then the intent of the code here is to limit internally illuminated signs in sort of your traditional downtown setting. Given the context of the site next to major traffic intersection, next to the interstate, staff found that was a more appropriate context for this type of sign. And again, it already exists as an internally illuminated sign. Exceptional hardship, staff found it's, again, limitations of, and these will come up, a lot of these are used, it's on the staff report, for multiple different cases. Limitations of sign code as broadly applied to a site of this size and scale, doesn't violate building or fire code requirements, and then, again, the minimum. So for this particular sign, staff found approval for this action item. So that's the first one, existing pole sign. And then action item 2, so these are for projecting signs, and show you them in a second. And these variances are, again, we have the internal illumination, and then also just for pure number, the number of signs that are allowed on one building frontage and for one building. And staff recommends approval of this item as well. And so these signs, so this sign, this is existing condition for sign XBS. And this is what is being proposed. And so this is a projecting sign. And it is internally illuminated. The letters, the face letters will be lit going out. And so that's one of the signs. And then this is the second location. So this is the west end as you walk towards the main entrance. And similar sign is being proposed here, internally illuminated. And so that, again, so that's one of the variances, the internal illumination, which we've already talked about. And then the second piece is just the number of signs that will be on this building and on this frontage. And so code limits this type of sign. So whether you have a wall sign, a roof sign, a projecting sign, to 2 total and 1 per building frontage. And so here they have 2 existing already, 1 and 2 on the far west end of the building. And then adding 2 more brings that total to 4. So you got more than 2. So that's the second aspect of this variance. And another piece too, which is referenced when we talk about variance criteria 4, about not harming the public and then not impairing the intent or purpose of the code. So every section of code at the start, you have an intent and purpose. And what is this section? What's it regulating? What's its purpose? Why? So 3 sections of the intent to sign code, staff found for this particular variance. I thought it'd be helpful for commission also to consider this. So one is minimizing compatibility between signs and their surroundings. And so this is a large commercial campus. It's pretty unique for the zoning district, downtown core, and just the city in general. And so seeking to kind of re-sign everything all at once makes better compatibility between the site and its surroundings. You know, if you think about, like, if you had a large commercial campus like this, I'm sure you've been on, you know, whether it's college campus, a different place where you can have all different signs. It's kind of confusing. They're different colors, different text, different fonts. And so that, in this sense, it's going to minimize the compatibility. And then 2, recognize distinct geographic districts within the city. This site, with its size, what it is, pedestrian vehicle circulation, you could really consider it a sign district unto itself, really. And so it's very unique in that aspect. And then again, provide for signs with reasonable limitations consistent with goals and objectives of the community, that rest largely on the community's appearance. So again, going at that, you know, this is going to be a comprehensive re-signing of a large commercial campus, and kind of retaining a consistent aesthetic that helps retain kind of the character of the site. So again, that all goes into, especially number 4. So again, staff found to recommend approval for this variance for these two projecting signs. I'm not going to go through each of these individually. These are all in the staff report. Number 3, and so this particular one, these are 3 different name signs, and they're a little bit different. And staff grouped these all together, kind of for simplicity and streamlining the variance application. So again, this one again is internally illuminated. These are considered a pole sign, and so there's a limitation on having pole signs in the downtown North Sign District, and then also design the double pole support. So this particular item has 4 variances, and staff recommended approval. And so I'm gonna go through each one of these in their specific location. So this sign, it's already existing. Applicant looks to replace it. Again, similar height, similar style, the archway entrance. And these were actually approved originally with a variance in 2008. And they were at that time deemed directional signs. Reading the definitions, staff finds that there's not really a good definition in code for this kind of sign where you have an archway entrance. And so we're gonna call them pole signs, just to keep these all together. They're all similar style. So this is another existing sign that would be replaced. This would be a new location. So this is on the pedestrian bridge as you come off. So CDOT reviewed this application. They don't have any issues. Condition number 8 does state that if this were approved, applicants work with the city and CDOT for all requirements for this particular location, just because this is on an easement. So this property is owned by the Hot Springs, but there's some easement language involving the pedestrian bridge. So this sign would be new. This is off of 6th Street, so on the northeast side of the property. It's a little different style. These are internally illuminated with the letters, but again, you have the archway entrance. And this is also, so an existing access, but that would be a new sign in this style. And then just a word on the pole signs. So again, there's not a very good, we don't have like archway, gateway, entrance sign type. And so the definition is of a pole sign is a freestanding sign erected on a frame master pole. So again, these are up above the ground. And having that definition resulted in these variances. And again, that was the staff designation. Pole signs, you know, they're usually found in more auto-oriented areas. So Highway 82, Highway 6. Here are some examples. So like the one on the left, single pole support, that's meets code. The one on the right would be an example of when you have that double pole. And that's one of the subjects of the variance, is having those 2 poles is not conforming. But again, for lack of a better definition, that's what staff went with. And then just information on sign districts. So on the left, those are all the places where in sign districts that allow pole signs. And then on the right, where they don't. So you can see in the downtown area, it's not allowed. So again, staff found for approval of this item. And for this particular item too, a lot of the rationale was that since code doesn't have a specific definition and we're using the pole sign definition, it just doesn't quite fit. And so that was the hardship and some of the limitations of code. Because again, with sign code, you know, you're looking at regulating a lot of different things in a lot of different places, and it doesn't always fit every business's idea of how they would like to advertise. Action item number 4. So this one, staff recommended denial, and these are for directional signs. And these are replacement of existing signs, and the variances were for number of the property, size, and then also height. And then also these signs being at the height they are in the location of some of them would create issues with sight distance. And what that means is when you're in a car and you're at an intersection and you're trying to look to the left or right, something impeding your vision. And in the site plan, there are a number of these WF signs. So this particular one is one of the ones where it would be in the sight distance triangle as you're coming out of the parking lot. Let's see. And so the reason why, so in code, a directional sign cannot be taller than 42 inches. That's the maximum for when it's in the sight distance triangle. So this stuff all works together. And that's probably the height of that existing sign or less. So again, see, there's the locations of the existing signs, which would be replaced. Again, being adjacent to parking lot, potential to cause visual obstruction for drivers in the roundabout. This particular sign is actually located on the city right away. So if commission were to consider approval of this sign, this would require additional approvals from city council for being located on city property, not on the subject site. No issue with this sign in particular, other than the height. This isn't in the sight distance triangle. So again, staff found that this type of sign did not meet enough of the variance criteria for approval. So have recommended denial. The 5th type, so these are informational signs, which are limited to 3 square feet. Staff has found recommendation for approval of this particular type of sign. So the intent of these signs is informational, kind of on the history and heritage of the Glenwood Hot Springs. And the reason why staff has recommended approval on these is they're just slightly over the size limit. So sign size is not eligible for an administrative adjustment, which is just like 15% beyond the standard. So again, they're very close to what would be allowed, and since they're incorporating text and graphics to create, an informative and attractive sign, staff has recommended approval of those. And then the final item is also for an informational sign. These are for the pool entrance signs, and staff recommends denial of these particular signs. Main reason being is that, so like the south entry sign is at 6 feet, the west entry sign is at 3.7. So the applicant has shown that those signs could be a little bit closer to the standard. So in that case, staff has found denial for that particular item. Reviewing agency comments, comments on sign type WF from engineering department was that those are taller than allowed within the site distance triangle. Colorado Department of Transportation, CDOT, reviewed the signs. They didn't have any issue with the existing pole sign, given its proximity to I-70. No public comment was submitted. And then these are the suggested conditions that were in the staff report. I do want to just call attention to number 6. So in code, there are limitations. If a sign is located, if it's visible and within 300 feet of a lot in a residential zoning district, this requirement would not apply to all the proposed signs. So like on this next map, you can see here, some of the signs are more than 300 feet from a residential zoning district. So there wouldn't be that requirement to be turned off at 10 p.m. or 1 hour later than business. So if commission would like this to be required of all the signs, that's going to be be a specific condition, because code as it is wouldn't create that situation for all of the signs, just some of them where they're within 300 feet of a residential zoning district. And again, for whether the approval or denial, if commission would look to do an alternative motion, that's found in the staff report. So yeah. So I'll stop sharing my screen.
Commissioner comments to staff?
Of the new signs, are they all illuminated?
Correct.
All new signs are.
With the exception of, actually, I take that back. Let's go back to the application.
I mean, there's a lot there. I mean,
Yeah,
I
there's a
got
lot of
got a
signs.
little lost, so.
That's okay. Share my screen again. And so when you look at these signs, we'll go back to the first one. So with this lighting element at the bottom, you see
Mhm.
that blue glass, so present on the pole sign. These signs, the text, so the letters are illuminated on the front. So that's internal illumination.
And the current sign is or is not, or is the current sign neon?
So this is where, for that particular one, this is the current signage. And I would defer to the applicant to confirm if it's illuminated. or not. I
Yeah,
don't think it is.
Daytime with the sun shining on it, you don't see what it
So
looks like
yeah.
illuminated yet.
Okay. So
Space illuminated and these would be able
No.
Feel free.
we can just wait. Have
Yeah,
that-
yeah, we can wait.
confirm.
We can
They
wait.
take
We can
the
wait.
Presentation too. And that mouse is frozen. The rest of them all are internally illuminated with the exception of the information.
With the exception, and of the new ones that aren't informational, they are new illuminated signs on the property.
Correct.
Okay.
But I would defer to the applicant too, to confirm on some of these if the existing
Sure.
one is also
Okay.
illuminated.
Could the pool entrance sign be considered a wall sign? Or is there a reason it's not considered a wall sign, I suppose?
The
The
This is-
item
this
6,
is
I
frozen
think.
right now. So you mean the pool entrance ones?
The-
So those could be, basically, they'd still require variances because then you'd be at the number. So just kind of weighing how many variances would be required and what would be appropriate, staff out with information. That would just be the 3 square feet. Either way, it's extra signage, number or size, so.
And then I had a question, I guess the staff report didn't really seem to address the internal illumination of the signs other than the first one? Felt like when we were going through the 7 criteria, the internal illumination wasn't addressed. Is there a reason for that? Is that because it's,
I think it goes in with the concept of that this site is given like the use and how big it is, directing visitors, that just went into it being exceptional. And also too, a lot of it is some of those signs, it's just the detail at the bottom, which would just be illuminated. And then for others, it's the text. Yeah, so more just sort of going back to the uniqueness of the site and its use, and directing visitors. It's at night, people that aren't familiar. And again, also I think another part is, so the standard is for the downtown core. When you're in other parts of town, you can have an internally illuminated sign. And then another piece of that is in the downtown core, you can have an internally illuminated sign if it's neon. So considering that, like if the applicant wanted to make all these neon, we wouldn't be here either. We wouldn't be a variance for that particular item. So just considering all of that, that's where, I didn't go into it too much. It's that specific item, but just the general sense. It being okay.
thank you.
I was actually looking for clarification on the halo illumination. Like if I remember, that lighting type for signs is allowed
Mhm.
in the downtown core. So for those signs that are called internal illumination, it's just the glass fin at the bottom.
Well, no, so actually, and this mouse, I think it's out. So when you have like a letter, you have a sign, you have your face, which is exterior, and if that's face lit and that's going out, that's considered internal illumination, lighting coming from the face. With the halo ones, and this is kind of technicality, the light source is on the back, and so when that light goes out, hits the wall, and then illuminates, kind of in an exterior sense, the letters. So if it's on the front, it's an internal illumination. It's on the back, it's considered halo and considered external.
So with the halo lighting, then light is not supposed to show through the face of the letters on the outside.
Well, it will reflect around it, but the
Right,
face
they'd
of the
seem
letter is
dark.
not illuminated.
And
Yeah.
there's light around them, right?
Halo effect.
Okay.
Emery, is there a reason, what is the intent of the code to allow neon lighting versus these other types of lighting?
I think historic, in the downtown area, we have several signs that have been there for a while and are neon, and then also it goes in the aesthetic. It is an aesthetic choice. Because for example, if someone wanted to replace one of those neon signs with LED, they would need a variance. Even though like stylistically look the same, the lighting would be different.
Maybe once you get your mouse working, can you go back to the size of the 2 directionals? Just so that I can, look, you can do it just with like a. You can actually work your computer. I'm so impressed.
Just the keyword.
And just because my eyes can't see that, can you just tell me, like, it's just because it's too tall?
Do you reset it?
The battery. You've been saved. Is it because those are too tall, and is that why?
So they're too tall. They're also too large. And
Okay.
then there's also more than 4 on the property.
Oh, I see,
So
that's
that,
4.
those are all the aspects of that one.
They're 6 feet tall.
6
Correct.
feet.
Okay.
Oh, 6 feet. Wow. Okay, yeah. Okay.
Any other questions for staff?
That's it for me. Oh,
Would the applicant like to come up?
Good evening, I'm Kevin Flora from the Glenwood Hot Springs Resort. So more or less, I'm just getting introduced Beth Rosa. As historically, the Glenwood Hot Springs has always tried to do its best for the community. Bring the best to the property, which reflects as the best in our community. We went and we found, and we've been working with Beth in Art House Design now almost a couple of years, right? So the process has been very difficult to get to this standard and to the level that we're at. And I think you'll find if you ask about past projects and hospitals and all these things they've done in Denver, you'll find that we found the best. But more than anything, this is Beth Rosa from Art House Design. And you'll find that it's an amazing company. She's an amazing person too, but you know, I'm thankful that she's been helping us. When you put this whole scheme together with our East End, you'll see that I think Beth can probably speak better to this than I, but I think we have a mixture, and you guys already talked about, we probably have 30 different types of styles and historic signs that are just kind of don't blend together and they get confusing because here's one from a certain period of time. In addition, with this process, it becomes standardized, less confusing. And I think she's done an amazing job to put this together. So I hope you enjoy it. Anyway, thanks for being here. It's all yours.
Thanks. How do I? Okay.
And when you're done, we'll have you state your name for the record.
Okay.
Beth, thanks.
Can I make this bigger? Okay, there we go. Sorry, I don't use a PC very often.
It's not only you.
Okay. Okay, Beth Rosa, with Art House Design, and then I've also got Kevin Penland, who's called in online. So he's also been working on this project alongside me and other designers at my firm. And so we put together just a brief presentation. Some of it is going to be similar to what Emery just showed you, but we'll kind of walk you through some of the design decisions and you know, we can answer any questions that you guys might have. And then just Kevin also sort of introduced Art House, but just wanted to say we are a graphic design studio. We've got over 30 years of experience. We're in Denver and well, now we're up in Glenwood a lot. And we work on several different types of projects. So we typically specialize in the built environment and doing signage and wayfinding. And so I just wanted to give a little bit of a background how we started with this project. So we started by doing an assessment, a wayfinding assessment. So we went through and did a comprehensive audit of every single sign on the entire property, mapped it out, looked at the design of it, you know, did just a thorough inventory of every single sign type. And we came up with even more than what you're seeing here. And so basically just kind of wanted to show you where, you know, what Kevin kind of alluded to where, and this is something that we see oftentimes on a project that has been around for this long, has so much signage that has just been added to over the years, you know, some of it starts to fade. It all just looks a little bit different. And so what we're, you know, so this is what we started with, just looking at this and then identified where the gaps are, where we could clean this up and, you know, how we could improve the wayfinding experience for the visitors that come from, you know, several nearby, but a lot of people who come from all over the world to visit, just to try to make this a more enjoyable, easier place to navigate. So, and as you can see in those photos, that some of the issues that we're running into is, you know, sign type and message hierarchy. You know, it's kind of tough because a lot of them have messages that there's not really quite a hierarchy in like the brand versus the message and then font size, style, color, even down to like the different arrows that are used. There's just a lot of inconsistencies. And then we did a lot of legibility studies, which is what helped drive some of the design decisions that we made in terms of the sizing of the signs that we're presenting today. And then one of the things that we were seeing is that at the pool entrance where most of the guests go, there's not really a moment of arrival, which, you know, we can wayfind all we want, but if there's not something when you get to where you are supposed to be going that says you are there, you have arrived, it's kind of a failure. So that's sort of what we're trying to do. If I go back to so the Spa of the Rockies, that building, one of the things that we were seeing, especially when people are coming in and parking in that west lot, they're walking up and around and they're seeing this building, and architecturally, it looks like where you should go, right? I think it was one of the first visits on site when we were doing the assessment, where there was this little girl who got really excited because her dad was taking her to the castle. And, you know, and that's what it is. It's like, it's inviting. It looks like where you should go. And so that's why we're trying to get people to not ignore this really very cool architecture, but to keep going if you're going to the pool entrance. And so, so those are some of the things that just, like I said, helped inform our design decisions. And so wanted to put these all on one sheet just so that, you know, you can kind of see how much we've cleaned this up. In a matter of a color, a palette that stands out amongst the red sandstone that's everywhere. You know, some of the signs, although I think a lot of them were faded, they just don't contrast with the environment enough. And so the blue, which, you know, really represents the water and the springs, but also does a really good job of standing out in its environment. So these are, you know, just showing those all together. They're not quite at an exact scale, just so you know. And then also wanted to do a little side by side and talk a little bit about the design. And as Emery had pointed out, we've got this hand cast glass that has become this element. It has this wave in it, and it's really cool. It is actually coming from Rhode Island, but it's all like, it's these like artists that do these really beautiful hand cast glass pieces that it looks like water. And this is sort of just this motif that will be carried across throughout all of the signage. And it is illuminated, and it, you know, it's an LED strip that will sit above and then just kind of make the waves in the glass glow. And so kind of just looking at what's existing and what we're proposing. Again, this is exactly the same size face of the sign. The type actually gets a little bit smaller. The current sign is face illuminated, so the letters glow from the face. The new version will be halo illuminated, so it'll be a little bit more subtle than what's there currently. And then there's also the little lanterns on the top those are an added element that will also have that glass. And then a side by side of this, this is what we're calling, excuse me, what we're calling the south entrance of the breezeway. So this is right where you enter into the pool entrance. And again, we're working on this moment of arrival. And what we're doing here is changing the tile that's on the columns there. So this new tile that we're proposing is this, it's more of a beige, white porcelain tile that will be used on the new pool area. And then we're bringing the blue at both the base of those columns and then up above on the face of the sign. And this is to differentiate it from the rest of the red that is everywhere else. And the sandstone is beautiful, but we're just trying to make it so that you can tell that this is where you should go. And the pool entrance type is a little bit larger here because our thought process behind that was that when you're driving in on the highway, you can see this entrance. And so this is something that's meant more, not for a pedestrian, but more for the vehicular, you know, visibility of it. And that's why it's a little bit larger. And then this is a similar lighting, halo illumination for the Glenwood Hot Springs type. The current Hot Springs pool type is face illuminated. So again, it's that it'll be a little bit more subtle with the halo glow.
Should we
versus
hold
the
our
face.
questions or wait or ask them as you're going?
You can ask us.
'cause the two pictures there, I'm seeing that the sign on the left as proposed, first, this is not a National Register listed property, right? Okay, on the illustration to the left for proposed, it looks like it's covering up the two windows and sort of disguising the dormer on the front of that building, like if you're recladding the sandstone columns where we're seeing the light fixtures on the right, how does that arch sit on top of those columns with the roof overhang coming out?
So it is basically a cantilever where it has, I think I can show you it. I've got some other. You can sort of.
Have a sign. Side.
Where is it?
So the columns remain and the sign's just pushed out a few feet towards the front.
Correct. So there's a.
So maybe the side, does that answer?
Yeah,
question?
yeah. Okay,
So it sits proud of that. It does, we are going to close up those windows, but it doesn't otherwise affect the building.
so the windows will get filled in because they're behind the sign. Okay, well, it changes the elevation there, but, all right, thanks for that. Go on.
I think we should hold questions till the end so that she can have a
Yeah.
continuity in her presentation.
Jumping back and forth with
Yeah,
the slides, gotcha.
Okay.
Okay, and so then this is the west entrance to the breezeway. So this is kind of where we're trying to pull people towards that south entrance as they're coming from the west. And it has a similar design. We've got the halo illuminated letters for Glenwood Hot Springs, and the pool entrance letters are not illuminated. There's a light that would just shine, from below, or from below this cabinet. So these would not be illuminated at all. They're just metal letters. So those would replace the existing pool entrance type that is face illuminated. And then we have these, what we're calling gateway signs that are, this one here is on the east end of the breezeway. And so this is the accessible entrance. So it's leading people to the accessible ramp. And we are using existing columns. And so just playing off of the existing architecture and adding a gateway above. And so this is a similar design with the halo illuminated Glenwood Hot Springs type, and then the pool entrance type is not illuminated, but there's a light above that would just kind of shine down on it so that it's visible at night. The sign is exactly the same, although it's not the accessible entrance, but this is a new circulation from 6th Street that can bring visitors down from 6th Street to, and not have to go all the way around. So this is just kind of a cut through. And so we're proposing similarly gateway sign that sits on top of those existing pillars. And then a side by side of this other gateway sign. And again, I think this one we're looking at cleaning it up a little bit. This sign existing now is a little bit cluttered. The messages just don't really stand out as well, just because there's not as much like white space around. And so we're making it more minimal. We're keeping with the branding. It'll stand out with the blue. And then, we're still just guiding people to the pool entrance. And then for this wayfinding sign, the intent behind the height of these was to bring them up a little bit higher, because a typical car is 4 to 4.5 feet tall, right? And so if there's a car driving by, you'll never see this to take that left turn into the parking lot. And so that's sort of the the design decision behind the height of it, and then also making them a little bit larger so that we can have the messages that we need to have on the sign at an adequate type height in order for cars to see them with enough time to react to it and make a decision on whether or not to turn. And I think, you know, of course, we don't want to cause accidents because we're in the sight triangles and things like that. So I think that maybe there could also be a discussion about if we move them into different locations. Or, you know, maybe some of them are shorter and some of them we could keep a little bit taller. Maybe they don't need to be 6 feet, but just bringing them up in height a little bit so that they can be more visible to vehicular traffic. And then these informational signs, we call them interpretive, these are just little breadcrumbs that will be throughout the breezeway. And these are great because they offer a lot of educational, historical information about the site. And they also are a way to kind of have this trail of breadcrumbs without having it be wayfinding messaging everywhere. It's kind of like you see these and you know you're where you're supposed to be going, versus when you look down that breezeway right now, all you see is just kind of red and beige, and you don't see anything to tell you that you're going in the right direction. And so these are a way of doing kind of both of those things, keeping on brand, keeping people knowing that they're going the right direction. Then these are just so that all of the drawings aren't looking so flat. These are just some renderings of some of the of these pool entrance locations on the breezeway. I think these just help a little bit with, oh, there's a good shot of how those kind of cantilever over the front of the building.
Can you go back to that one again?
This one?
Yeah, okay.
So that's what we put together as the presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Commissioner questions?
I have just one. For the the one that's too tall, that exceeds 42 inches up. And then for the other one, and there's another one that's too big. What are some alternatives that you can think of? Like, you think you can make these lower to meet, you know, the variance, or?
Is the requirement 4 feet? Is that what it is?
Here, maybe let's do. Okay, so for the pool entrance, that maximum size, calling them information signs, would be 3 square feet. And then this one is like 6. And then on the other end, it's like 3.7. So those are the dimensions of those ones.
So the type height on this one is 8 inches tall, and then on the west side, it's 6 inches tall. The current,
I was talking more about the directional signs.
The wayfaring signs.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not these. I'm fine with this. Just the ones that you guys, yeah.
Yeah, so it'd be 4 square feet.
And not to exceed how high again?
42.
Okay, 42. And this is 6 feet though?
to the top, yes. So I think we could look at making them a little bit shorter. I think the issue is that the type height as it is, we wouldn't want to go much smaller than that, because then it's not visible for people who are driving in a vehicle. And how, do you know what the speed limit is on that road?
I mean, would you want to go?
Probably
more-
like 15. Yeah, they're going slow.
Could you go horizontal more? Cause that seems more vertical, like just the sign itself.
Mhm.
kind of like the old one, but not necessarily.
Well,
Cause it would be illuminated, right? Cause that one right there, the old one is not.
the old one is not illuminated and
So if it was similar to the old one, but illuminated might be helpful, same color. I don't know, just a thought. I mean, I don't wanna speak for you because you're the pro, but I mean, I like your colors and everything, but thanks.
What was the tall, thin sign that was shown next to that? That seemed kind of superfluous and not,
which,
there was maybe it was in there. Huh. I thought it was
Was it
right
in
next to
Was it in Emery's?
yeah, maybe it was in Emery's.
The one that had the 6 foot.
There is a
dimension on it?
traffic sign next to one of, is that what you're thinking of?
The 20,
Mm,
the 20-mile-an-hour sign.
and
It's just-
let me see if I can pull it up. Anyways, go ahead with another.
And then I guess it would be the same comment for the, I guess, is that the only directional sign? And then there was one in action 6 that is too big. It's not too high, it's just too big.
that's the pool entrance, right? So in order to make these within 3 square feet, they would need to be 5 inches tall. The pool entrance type. This existing sign has 8-inch type. So 7-inch type.
Okay.
We're proposing 8. This is 7 currently. And then on the west side, we're proposing 6 and it is currently 6.
Okay.
Is the Spa of the Rockies sign coming down at all?
But that replacement sign's not in this package. How many of these signs are gonna be double-sided?
One, 2, 3. And there's 2 of these. So there's 3 of this one, there's 2 of this one and 1 of this
So
one.
the directional signs only help if you're coming from one direction?
Oh, sorry, these are also double-sided.
Okay.
Okay.
So we've got a sort of arched mounted sign hiding the eaves on the west side of the building. And then we have a new archway on 2 poles at the ramp entrance, but not at the stairs next to them. On the east side of the building, where the sidewalk goes like to the right of the ramp.
Yes, here, so it's not,
Mm.
there is not a sign over here. on the
Okay.
Stairs. Just here.
So what'll be on the back of those arches, right where your cursor is? Is there something on, I mean, you can't say entrance if you're leaving, right?
Right, it says to lodge on the opposite side.
To lodge,
Mhm.
but you wouldn't go that way to the lodge. You'd take the
You could.
stairs to Sixth Street,
You
wouldn't
can go
you?
that way to the lodge.
It's a ramp.
East side of the.
Oh, right, it's the accessible entrance. Okay.
And this doesn't have to do with signage, but will there still be parking, accessible parking for people on that east side? Where the ramp is?
That's the east.
Right, there's no parking left, right? That's all being used. Yep. So then people come from the accessible parking.
Where is that? No.
Uh-huh. And then the front of the pool had the sidewalk to bring them around to this ramp. Is that correct?
Yes. Most of that is all.
Oh,
Can I ask that you come to the podium?
Okay.
You won't be picked up on our mics for the recording. Thank you so much.
That's a straight shot. from there.
your chair should have picked up on that. But I'm very new, so excuse me.
So this is the east side of that breezeway, which is heading towards the canyon.
Mhm.
The use of that is mainly all of the people coming from Hotel Colorado that would need the access as an ADA as well as our lodge. That's the majority of the use of that. But you know, most people use it anyway, because most people don't want to walk up the stairs. But the question was,
Because there is accessible sidewalks from the other
Oh,
end
yes.
from, yes,
yeah,
okay,
the
That was- yep.
property has amazing ADA accessibility.
awesome.
And then there's so much ADA, I'm sure all of you have seen it in front of the spa. So it's more within code.
Yeah,
So it's good.
perfect. Thank you.
Said there was the lighting was gonna be, the new lighting is gonna be more subtle. It's gonna be less bright than what we have currently on the existing signage.
Yes, so face illuminated signage where the whole face of it is illuminated has a little bit more impact than a halo illuminated sign.
Okay.
Has a very subtle feel to it.
Softer.
Yes.
I have one sort of question about longevity and durability. I see that these, the arched signs at the entrances are sort of against the gable, and aren't we concerned there's gonna be snow and ice building up there and adjusting the signs? And my other concern with that is that there's this beautiful decorative glass on the pedestrian bridge where there's a little riffraff, and is the glass gonna be replaceable if it gets broken? Because I can see that as a target for some vandals.
Well, so to answer the first question, there have been many conversations with the fabricator that has been awarded this project. As far as like snow, getting caught behind. And they're kind of doing different studies on how to mitigate that. But we're not super concerned about that happening, but there's different ways that they can mitigate it, whether it be, putting heat behind it but there'll be a space, between, or it's not gonna like butt up directly to the building.
There's still a gutter there.
There'll still be a gutter
Yeah.
there, there'll be a space.
And I wanted to point out too, that we've been working with John Demos. And he's done all of the design as far as structural, et cetera. He's in the past engineer of the building too. But yeah, it sits out and all the drainage is still in place. So we don't really right now see any drainage issues whatsoever.
Okay.
And then the sign up near the steps by the bridge, so that is on the subject parcel. There's just an easement for utility easement, or what is that easement that the sign is gonna go on? Oh, Henry.
The easement is for like the bridge itself, maintenance
Oh,
of,
okay.
maintenance repair of the bridge, because that whole,
Right.
the Hot Springs property is that whole stretch. The pedestrian bridge goes right through the middle of it, and there's a section.
So the city has an easement over the subject parcel.
Yeah.
For maintenance of
CDOT
the
had it
bridge.
originally
CDOT.
and then relinquished it to the city,
Okay.
so.
City owns the pedestrian bridge.
Some of this stuff I'm not completely clear on, which is, so that's why I included the condition, is that if commission were to approve for the sign permit, that thing would have to get figured out.
And they would have some sort of maintenance agreement, or if it needed to be removed, conditions, yeah. Would
Try
get
to
worked
try to
out.
catch that in condition number 8.
Okay,
Similar to the public encroachment that would be required for the sign over on the opposite side of the street by the lodge.
but that piece is not required to go to city council. That,
I don't want to answer and be state that I'm 100% correct, but we do own the stairwell all the way to the bridge. It's all geothermally heated by us. And I believe CDOT is the main subject with that bridge and the walkway. I'm not really sure, and I don't want to state that as a fact, but I believe that's true because we work with CDOT all the time. So That helps.
And the question about the fin, the glass fin, the glass will be both mechanically fastened and glued into the sign. Not to say that someone couldn't, if they really, really tried, they would probably be able to break it. I don't think they'd be able to take the whole thing off without breaking it. It would-
Right,
it
but
would
if
break
it's
first.
glued and screwed, as we say, then it might be actually difficult to get out and replace.
I think it would be okay. The,
It's very thick.
An inch.
yes, so the glass for any of the overhead glass, signs are, both the glass is tempered and laminated. And so it's not a safety issue. But I think that if it were, broken or stolen or whatever, I think that we could replace it. The sign would have to come down and be,
Oh, okay.
repaired and put back up, but.
I do really
It
like
is
that as a
doable.
design feature. I think it's neat. It looks like water.
We're really excited about it. We just got the samples and it's very pretty.
Any other questions? So, my presumption is that we will entertain a motion for each variance and vote on those individually, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
All right.
I'll
Uh,
start.
You might want to open it up for public comment.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Forgot.
Thank you. Yep. Any public comments? There's no one in the room. Anyone online? I see Steve
He's
Boyd.
watching.
Okay, seeing none, we'll entertain a motion for action item 1.
So I'll make a motion to consider approval of sign XA, pole sign with variance for relief, section 070.040.110 to allow an internally illuminated sign within the downtown core.
I just wanted to add the piece about.
And with
Sorry.
staff recommendations on pages 15 through 19.
I'll second that motion.
And I'm gonna stare at you.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to mention again, since none of you had really brought it up, just the piece about illuminating the sign when the business is closed.
Hmm.
If any with commission wanted to consider that piece. Sorry.
So that needs to be in the motion, right?
It has to be, we have.
For every action item, or what, how would you want us to do that, Richard?
This would apply to all the illuminated signs and
Well, we have, for this particular one, yes. Because of the distance, but if we just want to make it a added condition blanket, do it for all of them that you seek approval for, it would probably be easier.
Can we ask
So-
what they currently do? Are they on all night?
Yeah, let's do that.
let's withdraw the motion.
I will withdraw my motion. And-
Second has been withdrawn.
And if the applicant could just let us know.
They do not currently turn off. They might. So up at the bridge, that one's on constantly. And that's a wayfinding sign for people that are just coming down the highway. So for the public, that helps because they find, hey, here's the off ramp. Those external signs, they're all on for the most part all the time at night, and they're driven by a timer or a sensor night and day. Same thing, because people are out there walking, it really eliminates the sidewalk more than it does anything. So that's why we leave them on for the most part. I'm sure there's a couple different signs that probably shut off with a timer based on highlighting of the building or something, but for the most part, like our Christmas lights, we make sure they're off by 11 for the same reason. But I don't want to stand here and say, yes, these turn off at a specific time at night, because for the most part, they don't.
Do you have employees that stay past 10?
Yes. Mostly security and
Mhm.
safety and cleaning crews.
I mean, I would say that I do walk that bridge, sometimes, and it is helpful to have those lights
Yes.
on. And, to see, or if you park in that parking lot and you've gone to the pool and then you walk over into town, it's nice to have those lights lit so that when you're going back to the parking lot, it's real clear, it's a clear path, it's clear to get there. So, I mean, I don't feel like we need to limit the time that the
I believe it's very helpful just
signs are
as
on.
an addition to the police department too, because we've got that tunnel over on that other side. And there's constant foot traffic throughout the property, just cutting through. So, as you said, the illumination during the night is more a safety precaution than anything.
I mean, so I would lean toward not having.
Let's, should we entertain a motion first and then we can have discussion about the light?
Right, and I think if we're gonna do that, we need to go sign by sign is kind of how it feels, and
Okay.
it wouldn't be a blanket condition that applies to all of these signs.
Okay,
Okay,
In Emery's staff report, he has it as suggested condition for all items. With the sign lighting shall comply with the maximum illumination allowed by code.
And I would just like to confirm, so that condition, the way it's written and the way code reads, wouldn't apply any time limits because of when I brought that map up earlier, yeah.
Would not.
Correct, because these signs are more than 300 feet from a residential zoning district, so the way that condition reads now, there's no restriction.
The default is they're on all the time.
Yeah. So that was why I brought it up, I just wanted to make sure it was, sorry for the interruption.
that you were clear.
So
was there staff discussion was there a strong feeling that there should be a limit placed on there? And does it have to be 10 PM
So that's, well, I'm just gonna bring it up,
or 10 minutes past?
bring that slide up.
Yeah, the one that said where 300 feet is from the potential signs.
No.
Yeah, that
So the
one.
way code reads is that an illuminated sign visible from and located within 300 feet of any lot in a residential zoning district. That should say shall be turned off no later than 10 or 1 hour after the close of business. So this requirement would not apply to some of these proposed signs as they're more than 300 feet away from any lot.
But are they visible from any residential zone district?
But it has to be and, so they're visible and are
Okay.
located. So the pole sign on the west end of the property, you can probably see it from a residential zoning district,
Yeah.
but it's more than 300 feet. So it doesn't meet that requirement and therefore wouldn't be required to be turned off. So if commission feels like that's appropriate and fine, we don't need to modify any of the conditions. That condition as it's stated.
Yeah.
That's how code reads. Now, if let's say that pole sign was over on the east end of this property where it was within 300 feet of residential zoning district, then we would need to address it. But the way it's written, they could stay on past 10. So.
I mean, that was my interpretation. I mean, I can see Target from my house, for God's sake.
So do we feel like we can make a decision on the blanket?
The default right now to the code is that they will be
Yes.
on, the code does not apply.
Correct.
So.
The conditions that he suggests though?
No,
suggest
no,
that are
the
in there?
condition number 6 just says maximum illumination allowed by the code.
Okay.
So
So is anyone concerned with the fact that, because I'm not concerned with it.
I'm not concerned. I mean, otherwise Target needs to turn off their light. I can see it from my house.
Far more offensive.
The bullseye gets on my nerves.
Okay, so can we move on
Yeah.
to, and then just for clarification, Richard, do you want, and Never mind. Yes, we'll vote on every action. Okay.
Yes.
Every action item. Okay, so
Motions and roll call vote on all.
roll call
six.
vote. Okay,
All
perfect.
right, so I'll start over. I'll make a motion to consider approval of sign XA, a pole sign with variance for relief from section 070.040.110 to allow an internally illuminated sign within the downtown core
I will second.
with,
Oh, sorry.
with staff recommendations on pages 15 and 19. To include, I should say.
19.
I will second that motion.
Okay, let's take a roll call vote.
You could
Please.
have open it to discussion.
Oh, excuse me. Let's discuss this, folks. Any discussion on this action item?
That's just the big sign by the highway, right?
I mean, frankly, it seems
Yep.
questionable to me whether this even needs a variance.
Yeah,
Seems to be on the
Totally agree.
edge of needing a variance.
It's just that glass fin.
on the edge, man.
Yeah, the glass fin.
Well,
Okay.
I feel like it's an improvement on the last.
No
sign.
more discussion. We'll take a vote.
Whoa.
Okay, the motion has passed unanimously with Commissioner Houghton, White, and Sipperly and Sims and Connerton all in agreement.
Excellent. We'll move on to action item 2.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to consider approval of signs types XBS and XBW. Projecting signs with variances for relief from section 070.040.110 to allow an internally illuminated sign within the downtown core. And section 070.040.110 summary of permanent sign standards table to exceed limit of 2 wall projecting or roof signs total and 1 per building frontage. With along the findings and conditions on pages 15 through 19.
Any discussion on this item?
We need a second.
I'll second.
Thanks, Karen.
I will get better, I promise. In 6 months, we'll do this again.
No discussion.
Okay. No discussion? Let's take a vote.
The motion has passed unanimously.
Okay, we'll move on to action item 3.
Ready?
I'll make a motion to approve signs types XBW, or I mean XBP, excuse me, XBF and XF, pole signs with variances for relief from the same code or same section of the code 070.040.110. And with the following to allow an internally illuminated sign within the downtown core. Summary of permanent sign standards table to exceed limit of 1 freestanding pole sign per street frontage per property. Summary of permanent sign standards table to allow a pole sign within the downtown north side district. And to allow a pole sign with double pole as support with the staff findings and conditions on pages 15 through 19.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll call the vote.
The motion passes unanimously.
Okay, moving on to action. Item number 4, variance request to consider approval of sign type WF directional signs with variances for relief.
I move to deny action item 4, sign type WF as explained in the staff report. These signs are in the site distance triangle requirements. They are internally illuminated and they exceed 4 signs per property and 4 square feet sign area per face. Following with the staff recommendations and conditions, pages 15 through 19.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion?
I mean, I would say just to, take the recommendations from city staff for, like the site and the, the site distance and maybe just consider some of the, because the sign is great. But I mean, I would like to see it so it doesn't block, when you're looking down there, even if you're only going really slow, I feel like it could, impede where, if you're pulling out in that area, I don't.
I feel that people are traveling quite slowly along the road between the front of the pool or the breezeway, as you call it, and the highway. So I think there's probably opportunity to just wait for a car to pass if you need to have a look at the sign. And I wouldn't want to compromise vehicular or pedestrian safety by allowing those higher signs.
So, Madam Chair, if I may, I think we have a couple of alternatives if if we want to review options. I think one would be continuance of this item to continue having conversations with city staff. And then another would be approval with a condition to work with the city engineer, understanding that the site triangle impediment is, by my understanding, probably the largest issue. So just to throw those options out, because I believe with denials, there's a time limitation on, is it 6 months? A year.
Oh, good.
So
Before.
we move to apply that extra condition that the applicant work with community development to resolve the signs in the site triangle.
We would just amend our
I think you'd
recommendation
Withdraw your motion since
to
it's a
denial.
deny.
Got it.
And
Approve
submit a
with
new
additional condition.
additional condition, that'd be working with the city engineer by height and location of these signs to avoid the side triangle. And then I believe it's an administrative process, but I believe that this will require an engineering variance is my understanding of the code. So which would typically come after this.
Just describing that site triangle regulations do exist in our engineering standards as well as our sign code. So that is why there could be the recommendation to work with our engineering department for a variance, and their variances are administrative for their standards. And I think Emery has a couple of other options to add to Richard's list as well.
Yeah, so like just a thought, I mean,
The option.
action 4 is one item, but it does contain all these different variances. So if commission had no issue with there being more than 4 directional signs on the property, you could approve that. If there was no issue with the exceeding 4 square feet, that is something you could approve. If there wasn't an issue with the illumination, and then if, solely was the condition of figuring out the site distance triangle, because also site distance triangle is determined at where that is in relation to the intersection. So you could have that sign at that size here, or if it's over here, all of a sudden it's not a problem anymore. So that's something that, could be worked out. Or like Richard mentioned, an engineering variance is an administrative process and doesn't require public hearing. So some of those, if commission felt those weren't issues, you could approve those specific items and then separate the site distance issue.
I
Thank you.
withdraw my motion to deny.
I'll withdraw that second as well.
So I move to approve action item 4, the variance request for sign type WF with the added condition that the applicant work with both community development and the city engineering department for the requirement of signs in the site distance triangle, but allowing the other variances components that are in action item 4, along with the staff recommendations from pages 15 to 19.
I will second that motion.
Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll call the vote.
The motion has passed unanimously.
Okay, moving on to action number 5.
Okay, I'll make a motion to consider approval for sign type Z, informational signs located throughout the property with variances for relief from the section in the staff report, informational signs to exceed a maximum size of 3 square feet with the recommend findings and conditions on pages 15 through 19 in the staff report.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Let's call the vote.
The motion has passed unanimously.
Lastly, action item number 6.
I would make a motion to approve this, the information signs located on the west and south entryways with variances for relief from the maximum size of 3 square feet. With findings and conditions on page 15 through 19.
Those conditions suggest denial.
I know.
I'd say the findings suggest denial.
You just
so-
need to justify, right? Why?
Mhm.
Right,
Yeah,
and
so I need to
so
walk through
there's an alternative motion on page 19, I
Oh, yeah, let
believe,
me go
didn't
to
print
that.
out on my version.
Please.
We'll have 7 criteria.
I just scrolled past it. Hold on, sorry, I'm trying to get there. Actually, can you hand it to me? Thank you. Okay.
So if you just want to go through the 7 criteria.
Yeah. So the subject property does have exceptional shape and conditions. The strict application of the code standards would not or would produce undue hardship due to the fact that they're doing that to the rest of the signs. And if they had to like not do this sign, I feel like that would be that would give them something else they would have to continue to do. The applicant has what is this? I can't see that. Has not had a part in the creation of the hardship by their own actions. The variance does not harm the public and does not impair the intent of the code. The variance does not demonstrate exception, wait, yeah. Yeah, thank you. Does not demonstrate exceptional hardship related to purposes or conveniences or financial.
I think
It
it
does.
does.
It does, excuse me. I'm sorry, I'm trying to see this with my glasses. The variance will not violate building or code or fire code requirements. And the variance is the minimum variance that will afford relief of the subject standards of the code. Woo. That was it. Sorry. Really bad glasses, good glasses for my computer.
Do we have a second? Emery, would you bring up the slide that shows the reason why staff wanted to deny this?
So, yeah, and it goes back to James' question earlier, like,
Do that?
why were these were not wall signs?
Oh, shoots. Maybe I can't do
I think
that.
we need a second to have.
Oh,
discussion.
any discussion, sorry,
Where it dies.
or it dies. Which that was arduous. We don't want it to die. I'll second. Can I second as a chair or no? Just to get the discussion going?
Generally, no.
I'll second the
Just
motion.
as
Thank you, thank you.
Yes, I'll second the-
procedurally speaking, and you can take the mic from me on this one if you want. If there is no second, that just means the particular motion dies and there's the possibility for a new motion, just for procedural purposes.
Well, we did get a
But we
second,
now have a second, so discussion.
Okay, discussion.
so now.
Back to you, Emery. Could we bring that up?
So with a lot of these signs, there were a lot of, options for, okay, when we read the definitions, is this a monument sign or is this a pole sign? Is this a wall sign or is this a projecting sign? So these particular signs, staff went with information signs, as it was kind of closer to maybe what they were getting at. Now we could call these wall signs, they are attached to the wall. That would still require variance for number of attached signs on that frontage. And so either way you designate these, they require a variance. One is for number, considering it a wall sign. This is for informational signs for purely the size of the sign. So the main reason why staff denied this was they were different sizes. Okay, if one is 3.7 square feet and the other is 6 square feet, can't these just both be 3.7 square feet? So that was the main idea with that. And I think as the applicant explained, it just comes down to the type size. And again, it's 3 square feet,
Are
so.
these regarding the letters that say pool entrance in the arch?
Correct. So you can consider that, and that was why staff recommended denial. So was looking at it, okay, is this the minimum variance? Because on this other entrance, you've shown that 3.7 square feet, and these are different entrances. One is definitely more the main entrance, and the other one is kind of guiding you to the specific way. As it's bigger, so that's what you can consider for approval or denial, but that's why. And again, if it was considered, if we had called this a wall sign, it would still be a variance, we'd just be talking numbers.
If it was considered a wall sign, the size would have been approvable.
Correct.
Okay.
It's one or the other.
I mean, when you go there, you have to see where you're going.
But you're on foot by then.
But what?
Generally. You're on foot by the time you get up to the archways at the entrance.
Yeah,
I think the big arch says, hey, here's the pool entrance, like, you're not really looking for the letters. Which is, I think, where staff was coming from with that.
The south entrance is also what you see from the highway, correct? And that was
yeah. I
kind of
think
the
that
point
was-
made by
that
the
was their
applicant.
explanation,
Right.
yeah.
And then additionally, you could say the same thing about the street on the west side, right? It's kind of the, hello, it's the Hot Springs entry sign on that side.
Mhm.
I could get behind allowing it.
Yeah, doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Okay,
Any discussion?
any other discussion or are we ready to vote?
Wait for John to say something.
He's like, I don't care.
He's like,
Let's
it's
go
just
home.
your wall sign.
If we're done by 8, what happens?
We'll call the vote. Anna's not happy with us, but
Okay, the final motion has passed unanimously.
Oh, he's a rebel.
Oh, Sumner.
all right. Moving on to commissioner comments. Commissioner Houghton.
I guess I'd just be curious to hear from the director and the director comments about the work session last month, the Title 70 amendments.
Question.
Okay. During director comments. Commissioner Sepperly.
I hope that I found a new alternate for us. We've all got to rally some more people to fill these empty seats.
Yeah.
That's it for me though.
Commissioner Sims.
Emery, good job putting the stuff together. Thank you guys for what you did today. Appreciate it very much. Like the putting it all together, cleaning it all up. Thank you.
You know, look good.
Commissioner Connaughton.
Yeah, thanks again, staff, great staff report, great staff support, and congratulations, Commissioner White and Commissioner Pete, even though you're not here.
And I guess I'd just like to say, I appreciate you guys updating your branding, and I think that that elevates our town design, and I think it's, it's very relevant with all the work you're doing at the pool, so I appreciate it. It's beautiful.
Once we get past this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just great. It's cohesive branding. It's great. So thank you. And then the only other comment I had was, and this is probably something to direct at the Arts Commission, but when my husband and I were out and about on town, we noticed Mary Noon's mural in the alleyway behind, like kind of adjacent to the Slifer Smith and Frampton building, that it looks like it needs some restoration. So just wanted to kind of highlight that. But otherwise, we'll move to director comments. Thanks,
Great.
guys.
Thanks for your thoughtful deliberation on that item. So the work session that we had with City Council on the Title 70 lot standard sizing density bonus components that you guys looked at. They had a lengthy and robust discussion on what was presented and have asked staff to come back with a couple more options, phasing options, and review some items. They had some agreement on some things that can possibly move forward separately. So now staff is putting together those items for another work session, and then possibly after that, an agenda item. So it's going along, but a little bit slower on this one as it's a larger topic. So understandable.
Is that something that we would be invited to at all? A work session with City Council on that?
I think
Or not
certainly
appropriate?
there have been work sessions in the past, but you guys have your recommendation that has been
Okay.
brought forward and discussed at length. So City Council hasn't necessarily brought that back, needing a work session with you
Good.
guys, but on large topics like that, it's not unusual to have you two get together, hash it out.
That way we're sure they hear us.
Yeah. But they certainly do appreciate hearing what your guys' discussion and points that you got, gave consideration to. So that has played a role in their decision-making as well. So it is heard. Thank you.
And my assumption is we would not be permitted to come and give public comment during the City Council meeting on that item, right? Legal.
Yeah, I think it's something we could follow up with you on. Generally, we, the planning commission's recommendation is its comment on such matters. But we could follow up with you all. Recommendation on that.
Like as a personal individual, you might have a different opinion that the commission did not express.
My presumption is there will be a lot of opposition. So I just hope that there's fair representation of the subject. That's all.
And with anything like that, you guys can always shoot us a detailed email of what you would like to do, and then Richard and I will put our heads together and give you an answer.
Don't go in disguise, Joy.
Other.
Burning bras.
Still gotta say her name for the record.
Spicy tonight. Other updates, we do have our economic development manager position out, posted. That is an open position with community development, so I'm telling anyone and everyone that will listen. You can find that job listing on the city's website, and if you have, people that are economically development oriented in their skill set, please send them our way for consideration. Our March 26th regularly scheduled meeting at this time, does not have any applications. I will keep you updated on that as that fluctuates from time to time, but we may fill it with a work session or a topic. I know you guys do like to meet outside of being on the dais and making decisions, so I'll keep you updated on that.
A retreat.
That is all I have.
Speak for yourself.
Is the retreat the brewery?
Okay, that adjourns our meeting for this evening.
Good job,
Yeah, but-
Joy.
Thank you.